Have you ever found yourself wondering what arpeggio to use if you're improvising over a minor 7 flat 5 chord or an altered dominant? Because there are quite a few chords that are not really covered with sort of the basic diatonic arpeggios that we already have. But in this video, I'm going to go over an arpeggio that works really well for a lot of different chord types. I'm going to show you some of them, and I'm also going to cover a dominant chord sound that not that many people use, but which sounds really great. My name is Jens Larsen. Learn jazz, make music. The arpeggio that I'm talking about in this video is the major 7 flat 5 arpeggio, and it's really difficult to give this arpeggio a theoretically correct name, and that's simply because it's a 4-note arpeggio, and in most contexts that you're going to use it, then it's actually not a place where you have a flat 5, it's more often going to be a sharp 11. At the same time, since it's a 4-note arpeggio, it's really difficult to call it a sharp 11 arpeggio, because in that case, then that's kind of saying that it's a 6-note chord that we're arpeggiating, and there are only 4 notes. It doesn't really make too much sense to call it a major 7, sharp 11, or mid 5, or mid 9 arpeggio. My life is too short for that, so I'm just gonna let all the internet trolls, all the music theory experts rumble. You're gonna have to live with me calling it the magic arpeggio and the major 7 flat 5 arpeggio. If you're in the key of C major, then you would build the magic arpeggio on the 4th degree of the scale, so from F, and you would have F, A, B, and E. So this sound, which sounds like a major 7 with a flat 5. And a good way to play this arpeggio, sort of a very practical, compact way, would be something like this. Of course, I'm going to show you a few different ways that you can play this arpeggio, so you can use that in your own playing, not only in this simple version. But this is a good place to start. It's practical and it's pretty compact. Just a quick side note here, when we're working on superimposing these arpeggios on top of other chords, then you're actually really working on something that's very useful, because it is really handy if you want to have more options in your solos to be able to take any set of notes and then relate them to a root. In that way, you really have an idea about what they are and how they sound and how you can use them in your solos. As you can see, I'm moving the examples around in different keys. Here I'm using a B major 7 flat 5 arpeggio on a G7 altered chord. So if we take that arpeggio, that would be B, E flat, F, and B flat. So you can see I'm already spelling it out, so it's related to the G7 altered. That means we have a 3rd, flat 13, flat 7, and a sharp 9. So it's a really great sound for a G7 altered chord. And of course, this is also a sound that's actually found in the melodic minor scale. So if you have G altered, that's of course the same as A flat melodic minor. So that's A flat, B flat, B, D flat, E flat, F, and G. And there we have, of course, B, E flat, F, and B flat. So it's a part of that sound as well, and that's something that's going to be useful in other examples as well. The line that I'm making with the arpeggio in this case is really just using the basic fingering that I just went over on the F chord. So that's really just playing. The only thing that happens is that I'm changing around 2 notes, so doing like this, and then just playing the rest of the arpeggio, resolving to the 9th of C major 7. Minor 7 flat 5 or half-diminished chords can be pretty tricky to find some solid material on, mostly because this is one of the few chords where, because of the flat 9, then the arpeggio from the 3rd doesn't work that well. But in this case, we can use the magic arpeggio from the flat 5 of the chord. That sounds like this. So I'm using the magic arpeggio from the flat 5 of the E half-diminished, so that's from B flat, and that means that I have a B flat major 7 flat 5, so B flat, D, E, and A like this, and that's giving me the flat 5, the flat 7, the root, and also the 11th. So it's really adding some color, but also really sort of spelling out a lot of the core sound of the chord. The arpeggio pattern I'm playing here is really coming out of this fingering. In the altered example, you saw that there's a magic arpeggio on the 3rd degree of the melodic minor scale. And this is of course something that we can also use if you're improvising over a tonic minor chord. So if we look at A melodic minor, then that will be A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, G sharp, and A. And we of course have the magic arpeggio on the C, so C, E, F sharp, and B. And if you relate that to an A minor chord, then you will have the minor third, the fifth, the major 6, and the 9. So you have an A minor 6-9 sound just in this arpeggio. And you can use that in a line like this. The line I'm playing here is using a symmetrical fingering. So I have this 4-note fingering for the arpeggio, and then I'm moving that up in string set. So I can use this and just move it up an octave. And then the high octave here. In the line, I'm actually changing the last 2 notes, and then just adding this tag to go down to the major 7 on this minor chord. So it makes sense to also practice the arpeggio like this. The Phrygian chord is a really great dominant sound. It's a little bit different from what we normally use, and I think it's also a little bit overlooked because it's a suspended dominant sound. So it's a G7 sus4 if you're playing it in C, but it's with a flat 9. And in this case, I'm using an A flat major 7 flat 5 arpeggio to get that sound on a 2-5-1 in C. That sounds like this. So I'm using the magic arpeggio from the flat 9 of the chord, so from A flat, to create this G7 sus4 flat 9 sound. And really what's happening here is of course that we have the flat 9, the 4, and then the 5th and the root. And you really don't need to have the flat 7 in there, because when we have the flat 9 and the root in there, you're not really likely to also hear like a major 7. You're really gonna hear this one as the implied notes of the flat 7. So it's a really good way to spell out that sound, and it's also just a really sort of nice, different kind of dominant sound. In this example, I'm using the basic arpeggio shape that I also showed you for the F major 7 flat 5. So this way of playing the arpeggio. Of course, this arpeggio can also be used in a lot of other places. So if you have a great suggestion for a place that you can use this arpeggio, I didn't talk about using it for Lydian chords or for regular dominants, and there are quite a few great places that you can use this, of course. So share some great examples in the comments. Maybe it's something I can return to in a later video. As you can see, this works extremely well for spelling out a lot of different sounds. And when you can use the arpeggio, you can of course also use the chord. So if you want to see 10 examples of using the magic chord, then check out this video.